So this next section is fractions, and we have to recognise what parts are shaded in of a fraction. So in examples here, we have, 3 out of 12, for example. There's 3 boxes shaded in out of the possible 12. And then below here, there's 10 green boxes shaded in out of 20 boxes. It's pretty apparent that that's what's shaded in the picture. So you have to be able to identify how to write out a fraction. Again, if you have 4 out of 8 shaded in this example here in the circle, 4 blue on the top are shaded in out of the possible 8 sectors of that circle. So you should be easily able to describe what is shaded in as a fraction. Now over here you have the fraction wall, and the fraction wall is basically how one full unit can be split up into 2 halves and then 3/3, so 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. Then it can, again, that half can be split up into 2 quarters on the 2 blue ones here on the left, and then over on this side as well, a half can also be 2 quarters. And again, 4 of those quarters will make one full unit, the top bit in red up there. So you need to be able to recognise in your picture that one full unit is the same as 4 quarters. Okay, and also when you're doing this, you can recognise that 8/8 also down here will make one full unit, and that a half would be the same as 4/8. So when you're looking at this, you look at a half and you see that it's the same as 4/8. It's cut down at the same position, and it's an equivalent fraction, it's called. And the same with 2 out of 4 is the same as a half, as we just mentioned there a minute ago. So you need to be able to easily recognise what is the same as each other. So the halfway mark is say that a half would be the same as 2 over 4, same as 4 out of 8, and also down the bottom here it would be the same as the 6 out of 12, because 6 over 12 cancels down to a half. So again, to be easily able to manipulate that, you have, if you have a question that you have a half is the same as 2 over 4, if it was cancelled down, is the same as 4 out of 8, which is also the same as a half, and 2 over 4, and also if you cancel it down again, 6 out of 12. And with all of these questions, you should be able to identify that they can cancel down smaller and make the same fraction. Here we have an example of adding fractions. So according to the rules above, we have to add fractions by first getting the common denominator of the fractions. So the first rule, so a number that is the lowest common multiple that 2 and 3 will both go into. So I have 2 and 3 both go into 6, the lowest number that both of them go into. So I put 6 down in the bottom because both of them will become 6. How does 2 become 6? 2 becomes 6 by multiplying it by 3. So you must multiply by the top by 3 as well. And how does 3 become 6? 3 becomes 6 by multiplying it by 2. So you must multiply the top by 2 as well. So what happens then is 3 by 1. Now whatever number is here would be multiplied by 3. It happens to be a 1, so 1 by 3 is 3. And 2 by 1 is 2. And the plus is still in the middle. And then according to our third rule here, add or subtract when the denominators are the same. So there's addition in the middle, so I can just add and subtract 3, 6 plus 2, 6 is 5, 6. And that's how you do a simple addition of fractions. This time we have a subtraction. So we've 3 quarters minus 2/3. So again, we look for a number that 4 and 3, the denominators, both go into, the lowest common multiple of them both. So the lowest number that both of them go into is 12. So we put 12 down the bottom, And when we put 12 down the bottom, we see how does 4 become 12. 4 becomes 12 by multiplying it by 3, and we must also multiply the top by 3. And how does 3 become 12? By multiplying by 4, so we must multiply the top by 4 as well. So applying then that on the top, 3 3s are 9 on the top, and over on this side, on the right hand side, 4 by 2 is 8, and we've minus still in the middle. And then to tidy up the answer, 9 minus 8 on top is 1, and obviously you keep the same denominator, so 1/12 is the answer. And again, you can check that by typing it into your calculator, by pressing the fraction button on your calculator. The fraction button looks like this, or sometimes it looks like this. So it depends on your calculator, so just look for the box with this symbol in it on the top, or else this symbol here, and that's your fraction button, and then you type in the fraction and put the minus, etc. in. So this is what is a mixed fraction. A mixed fraction has a whole number and a fraction. To change this to an improper fraction, you just multiply the whole number by the denominator, and then you add on the numerator. So for example, we 4 by 4 here. So 4 by 4 is 16. 16, and then add on 3 is 19. So you put 19 over 4. So that's how you change the mixed fraction to an improper fraction. And vice versa, if you wanted to go backwards, if you have 19 over 4, how do I change that to a whole number and a fraction? How many times is 4 going to 19? 4 goes into 19 4 times, because 4 4s are 16, with 3 left over to give you 19. So that's how you get it vice versa. So be equally able to work between these. And if you wanted to add or subtract these numbers, so let's say I wanted to add or subtract 4 and 3/4 and 2 and 1/6. So if I wanted to add these, there's two ways of doing it. The easiest way in some ways is to add the whole numbers together. So 4 plus 2 is 8, and then add the 3/4 and 1/6. So let's do the 3/4 and 1/6 over here. So 3/4 and 1/6. What's a denominator that both of them go into? The smallest one is the lowest common multiple of them, which is 12. So both of them have 12. How does 4 become 12? By multiplying it by 3. How does 3 become 12? By multiplying 3, so you must apply that change on the top as well. How does 6 become 12? By multiplying by 2, so you must multiply the top by 2 as well. So then when I want to get my answer, 3 by 3 is 9 on the top here, 2 by 1 is 2, plus in the middle, 9 plus 2 is 11 over 12, and then we have to consider as well, we added 4 plus 2, the whole numbers over here, which is 6. So the answer then in total is 6 and 11 over 12. So that's how you do addition of a mixed number, of two mixed numbers together. This time, if you want to multiply fractions, we have to try and simplify on top and bottom, on the left and the right hand side, things that could possibly go into each other a bit easier. So if we can't do this, then we just simply multiply the top together and multiply the bottom together. So let's have a look. We can see on top and bottom here that 8 on the right hand side can go into 16 on the bottom on the left, and it's only on top and bottom, not two tops can go into each other. So for example, 8 goes into itself once and 8 goes into 16 twice, so that makes the fraction much more easier to work with. But also on the left hand side and top, 3 goes into itself once and 3 goes into 9 3 times. So this has made my fraction much more simpler. So I can now just tidy up and multiply the top together. So instead of 3 on the top, we have 1, multiplied by whatever's on the top on the other side, which is 1. And then on the bottom here, we have 2, and 2 multiplied by 3 on the bottom is 6. So that's how you do that fraction. It's much more easier. Try and simplify it before you go and do the multiplication. So let's try another one. So in this fraction underneath here, we have 3/4 multiplied by 3/5. Now, there is nothing on top and bottom that go into each other. 3 can't go into 4 on the bottom. 3 on the top on the left hand side cannot go into 5 on the bottom on the right hand side. So there's nothing that cancels or makes easier. So if not, then we just multiply the top together and multiply the bottom together. So multiplying the top together, we've 3 multiplied by 3, which is 9. And we've 5 multiplied by 4, which is 20. And that's as simple as that goes. There's no more cancellations. So that's a simple multiplication. Now in this example underneath, we do have things that go into each other. For example, 7 on the top left can go into 35. 7 goes into itself once. 7 goes into 35 5 times. 12 does not go into 18, but there is a number that both of them can be divided by. So 6 is the number that both of them can be divided by. 6 goes into 12 twice, and 6 goes into 18 3 times. This has made our fractions much more easier on the top and the bottom of both fractions. So now I can continue the question by just multiplying the top together. So we now have 1 on the left on the top multiplied by 3, which is just going to give me 3. And on the bottom we have 2 multiplied by 5, which is 10. And that has made our fraction much more easier to do when we cancel out first if we can, and then tidy up by multiplying the top numbers together and multiplying the bottom numbers together. When doing division, we have to first of all flip the second fraction upside down and then change its sign. So if I'm going to flip the second fraction upside down, it's going to be 5, so change it upside down to be 3/2 and change the sign to multiplication. So now I deal with the same rules as I did on the previous slide. Can anything simplify or go into each other? So the 5 can't go into the 2 on the top and bottom, left and right, but on the top 3 can go into 6. So 3 goes into itself once, 3 goes into 6 twice. So now I just tidy up the top. So tidying up the top, 5 multiplied by 1 now on the top is 5, and 2 by 2 is 4. Now you can see this is an improper fraction, and if you wanted you can leave it as it is, or you can simply divide it in. 4 goes into 5 once, so one line going down for the 1 full unit with 1 left over, so a quarter. So 1 1/4 and 5/4 are the same thing. This time we've a whole number 6 divided by 3/4. So again, I change the second fraction upside down. So the second fraction is 3/4, so it's going to be 4/3, and change the sign in the middle to multiplication. Now 6 on its own is actually 6/1, but you don't see the 1 because 1 into 6 goes in 6 times, and that's why it's just left as a 6 on its own. So now we can do the rules of addition of our multiplication. So to do the rules of multiplication, we see just anything cancel into each other. So obviously 3 goes into itself once, 3 goes into 6 twice, and then 1 into 4 you don't need to do that because it'll still be the same answer. So let's tidy up the top line now. 2 on the top multiplied by 4 on the top, which is 8, and 1 on the bottom multiplied by 1 on the bottom is just simply 1, and 1 into 8 goes in 8 times. So that's how that fraction tidies up.